Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Plovage. This is a CK2 mod showcase. I'm very excited to have this one today because in just 1 month, of course, CK3 comes out, and yet we have amazing mods like this one coming out. And I know that CK2 doesn't go away just because CK3 shows up, but I will tell you that, of course, the attention, the general attention, mine in particular, will without a doubt shift towards CK3 once that is the case. But even when that is the case, even when we know there is somewhat of an expiration date, mods like this one, Gesta, Principum, Polonorum, which is probably not how you pronounce that, but I don't speak Latin, so I wouldn't actually know. This came out just yesterday. This was shown to me by the modder themselves. It's a really interesting mod. It's one of those mods that, and that is, you know, partially why I make the video about it. First of all, obviously, I want to encourage all of you to play the mod because it's very good in its quality and how it can immerse you and invite you to roleplay in Poland at the time. But it's essentially a mod that I would love to see for Crusader Kings 3. And this is a bit of an appeal towards the mod maker Kosh1414. Thank you for making that mod again. I favored it. I actually gave it an award because I thought it was a really good thing. I don't know what these awards do, but you gotta have it. Now here's the deal. I would love to see this in CK3, and this is my appeal to you, and this is my appeal to people that have a lot of knowledge of other regions in the Crusader Kings world, because essentially what this mod does is it makes it so that Poland gets an authentic historical experience instead of, you know, in 1066 Poland is unified, and then until 1337, which is the last started in CK2, it just hangs out as this kingdom. And it's just really weird because that's not how it historically went. Poland has an incredibly difficult and incredibly rich history, as do, I mean, all places in the world, I suppose, but it wasn't represented in Crusader Kings 2. And now with this mod, it is. Let's take a look at this, because this is just absolutely amazing. A complete revamp of the Polish map history. Yeah, okay, so they changed a lot of outcomes. When you start in certain areas, you will have wars that in Crusader Kings 2 are not represented. 31 new bookmarks. We're going to see that in a second. It's incredible. A new coronation decision for Poland. I believe that you need the approval of the Holy Roman Emperor or the Pope, one or two. We're going to take a look at that in a second as well. Then the shapes and sizes of the 18 provinces in and around Poland, or of 18 provinces, have been changed. Historical rulers and nicknames and traits and appearances have been adjusted. Countless historical and legendary minor characters, adding flavor to the game, including all bishops of Krakow. 8 fictional dynasties based on historical noble houses, filling every bland spot on the Polish map. 83 new events, including 3 narrative event chains for the first, 3 major bookmarks, and several flavor events. 81 new Wikipedia links, as well as new given names in the Polish culture. This is one of those pieces of labor of love, right? That I want to really hope for in Crusader Kings 3. Again, Kosh1414, I hope that you will take up modding in Crusader Kings 3 for Poland as well. I know, Kosh says it right here in the description that it's a bit frustrating to see that only 867 and 1066 are in Crusader Kings 3, while I personally won't miss the later start dates. I get the frustration, but I hope that maybe there will, one day be a mod for CK3 of much higher historical accuracy for Poland and for many other nations that I can then pack into a big mod pack when I play and, experience them all at once. So what is this all about? Let's just jump into Crusader Kings 2. I have the game open right here. This is with the mod and only that mod. And essentially, as you can see right here, you have all of these start dates. These are the selected bookmarks that the modder says, hey, these are the ones that you should probably try because they are, the most interesting ones that I have created. You can see this is Piast the Wheelwright, so the ancestor of the Piast dynasty that then ruled Poland for over 500 years. Every single character has a short description here so that it is easier for you to find your way into their lives and who they were and what they wanted to do. Very interesting. I really like the idea behind it. And 1072 instead of 1066 because 1066 of course wasn't really relevant for anybody but England, which of course is very relevant as always, but you know what I mean. The rest of Europe really had other more important dates, I would argue. And as you can see here, it is exactly the same thing. You see all of these beautiful detail work that has been put into to make it clear who is what and what is going on. And as you can see right here, this for example is a vital moment because this feudal fragmentation in 1138 would then lead to 70 years, almost 70 years I guess, and I'm literally just reading this. I read the Wikipedia article earlier because it just sounded so interesting. I actually did not know that, but essentially leads to 70 years without any central authority in Poland. Really cool. Again, had no idea because it was never depicted. Then here we have the Battle of Lagnitza against the Mongol Empire. And then last but not least, in these 5, start dates, we have the Battle of Plovage, which was a really interesting. We're going to take a look at that actually in detail, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. A really interesting war between Poland and then some Silesian dukes. Those two together against Bohemia and the Teutonic Order. Very interesting stuff. Let's take a look at all of this stuff over here though. Look at this. Every single of these bookmarks is a bookmark for Poland. And so much love put into every single one of these start dates. It's incredible to me just how much love went into this. I want to point out, and this is the most obvious change. There are a couple of changes just all around, but this is one of the most obvious changes. If you compare this to the vanilla map of Crusader Kings 2, in that map Kujavi, and that is also probably not the correct pronunciation, but Kujavi essentially goes like down here. It's really weird. It's a really weirdly shaped province in vanilla Crusader Kings 2. Now that has been altered to a much more reasonable sort of point of view, but as you can see, so many start dates. It is absolutely insane. It really accounts for just how fractured and how difficult it was to rule in that region. Of course, you know, you had rebellious lords, especially right after the conversion to Catholicism. You still had the pagans right at your doorstep, and then once all of that was over, you had the Teutonic Order and you had the Holy Roman Empire also bordering you and having their very own interests towards your front step. Now, with all that being said, let's just go to one of the classic start dates, because I would like to take a look at the narrative events. Again, this is not a mod that makes you kind of, you know, it's not a visual novel. This is not a mod that comes along and says, okay, time to read my 100 events about the historical character that you are playing. No, this is something that eases you into what their destiny could be, and then you get to make the decisions like you know it from Crusader Kings 2. Let's play Piast right here. There's just two events that I essentially want to show off. I think those are quite interesting. Really, again, lovely work that has been put into this mod. You will see that in a second. I think it will fire at, you know, like a couple months in. I think once my son turns... No, he's already 7. I don't know. We'll see how exactly this goes. I will recognize the events, don't worry about it. But this is essentially what I beg for. This is... Please, if you want to make this mod for CK3, please be my guest. I mean, this is an absolutely amazing mod. I would be forever in your debt and thankful, because I really love this immersive stuff. You know, people oftentimes tell me, hey, you know, why don't you play, for example, a bit more in India, for example? Why don't you play a bit more in Africa in general, I guess? And why don't you play more in Eastern Europe? The answer is that I know very little about the history there, and that makes it very difficult for me to actually immerse myself. There is so much history. All of these places are so rich in history, and yet I barely know anything about it. Now, if a mod came along that, you know, much like what is done here for Poland, did the same thing for many other regions, I would play the hell out of it, because that is just amazing. And I think many others would also play the hell out of it. So if you're interested in this and getting a better Polish experience, in getting other experiences of other regions that aren't as fleshed out in the base game, then I think all we can do is really hope for these sort of mods to be developed in CK3 as well. But again, I'm gushing, because for me this is one of those amazing projects that make it possible that I can get immersed into a region that I normally and personally know very little about. Now look at that, and unexpected visitors. It is an old tradition to celebrate a boy's 7th birthday. During a day of festivities, his hair is ritually cut for the first time by his father, who accepts him as his son. He is no longer a child, strongly connected to his mother. He becomes a member of the world of men, looked after by his father, getting an additional name. You're not able to afford nearly as much as the High Chief, though, having only 1 barrel of beer and 1 pig saved for the party. But when the day of the first haircut comes, unexpected guests arrive at your house. They seek hospitality, saying that they were not welcome at the chief's court during his son's ceremony. So the way I see this, I'm pretty sure he has a son that is 7 years old, and we have a son that is now also 7 years old, Siemowit. By the way, we do have, look at this Wikipedia link. Of course, come in. We don't have much, absolutely. Let's talk to these guys. And you can see there's a small bug in here, but don't worry about it too much. You know, this happens. This is a one-person, a one-modder project. You invite the guests in and reluctantly open the only barrel you have. You know well that there won't be enough for everyone. The visitors tell you not to worry and encourage you to pour more and more beer. After some time, you realize that you have already served much more beer than the barrel could contain, but it still seems heavy and full. Then the visitors order you to kill the pig. Again, 1 pig is not enough for such a feast, but you somehow manage to satisfy everyone's needs and still have lots of meat left. You know, something very unusual is happening, so when the guests ask if they can perform the haircut of your son, you don't hesitate. They bless your son with a strange gesture and prophesy that in the future he will become the High Chief instead of Popiel. Popiel being our current liege here. And then they leave, never to be seen again. A miracle in my house. And this is just one of those showcases where I never knew about this legend, because that's essentially what it is, right? About this legend being a thing, but it being implemented, making it so that now I have much more understanding of the drive that my character would have, and the drive that my dynasty members, even, you know, centuries afterwards would have, making it much easier to roleplay in this world. I'm a huge fan, but not just that. Let's of course go into that other starter that I liked so much because it looked very hard. I don't think I could beat it. I mean, honestly, that's one of the hardest ones that I have seen. That is the Battle of Plovage, probably, again, not how I pronounce it. The Battle of Plovage was part of a 5-year-long conflict between the Kingdom of Poland and the Teutonic Knights, in an alliance with King John of Bohemia. The Teutons' plan involved consolidation, with Bohemian forces around the land of Kalisz, followed by an attack on Greater Poland. As Bohemian forces were delayed in Silesia, the Knights marched into the Polish lands by themselves. The battle took place in late September. The Polish managed to defeat an important part of the Teutonic army, and despite later having to retreat, they made the Teutons turn back. King John, who was already leading the siege of Poznan after hearing the news, retreated through Silesia as well. King John being this one. I assume it's like technically Johann. I'm not actually quite sure. John, I don't actually know. Now that I think about it, what is... Oh, isn't it Jan? Isn't Jan the Bohemian name for John and Johannes and Johann? Let's play the Polish king, Władysław the Elbow High, the first Duke of Krakow after Bolesław the Bold, to crown himself the King of Poland, known for his short stature but more importantly his struggle against the Bohemians and the Teutons, and ambition to reunite Poland. He was the father of Casimir the Great and a member of the Kuvian branch of the Piast dynasty, recognized as the restorer of the Kingdom of Poland. So a lot of history attached to this particular start date, and it is one of the very late start dates, meaning that you have a lot of troops standing around. Now we are allied to one of the lords here in Silesia, and as you can see, I mean, we have a total of 10k troops. That is quite something, right? And then I saw this and I was just like, oh my god, how can you do this? Yeah, Johann, there you go. Now the way I see this, I don't think I can win this, because winning against the Bohemians here seems very, very difficult. But I'm going to just check out what I can do. I love the fact that now we actually have this law and this war going on, because in Manila, I'm 99% certain that this war is not a thing. This is the war for the Bohemian invasion of Poland. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go north and I'm going to fight in, maybe not Kalisz, but I'm going to try to fight the Teutons off. Maybe something like that anyway. Jihad for Portugal, good for you. I guess actually technically bad for you. And yeah, I'm going for Jerusalem. Think I care? Okay, can I kick the... Oh god, yeah, look at that. That is awful. Can I kick the Teuton's ass? Where did he go? There they are. Oh wow, they have more troops. Okay, you know what? I'm throwing in the towel. I just wanted to show you this mod. I really like it. Koj, again, thank you so much for making this mod. There is a lot of work, a lot of love that went into this, and I would ask you, you know, if you have the time, if you have the interest, if you like the game enough, of course, once it comes out, that is one of the biggest things right there. Please, please, please translate this as good as you can into CK3, just so that there is much more immersion going on in Poland. I would be incredibly, incredibly thankful, because these sort of mods are the lifeblood of keeping Crusader Kings interesting, so that you can play in regions that you know nothing about and yet experience it as though, you know, you were truly seeing through the eyes of the people living back in the day. Amazing mod, check it out in the workshop. The link is of course in the description, and that is the end of this video. And with that, the only thing that is left for me to do is to, of course, thank the members of the channel that are making videos such as this one possible, namely the Barons, Stefan, the Pelters, Achilles, Noah, Tanner, Falling Phoenix, Jacob, the Musiala, Godan, Florian, MFA, Mitchell, Aaron, Stefan, Snyroof, Trengili, Valerius, and Monster Furby. Then, of course, also the Counts, Lachlan, Wombat, Shifty, Rex, Romanorum, and Kazan. And last but not least, the absolutely beautiful Dukes, Eric, Kiriana, Goodfield, Nathan, Jack, Kenneth, Lex, Solari, Soloing, Pixie, and Thomas. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, and I will see all of you later. Alligator.